I'm the Wolfman. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to show you how to make this really cool primitive bowl. What we're going to use is fire and coals from the fire and our knives, and we're going to create this. What we're going to do, this particular piece of wood was donated to me, and I'm really grateful from Dan's Diatribe who did that. And it's a piece of oak, so it's going to take an awful long time to do. When it's finished, you can see it looks really, really cool. So let's go ahead here, get started on this project. So like any project, before you begin it, you're going to need the proper tools. So one of the most important tools about the burn bowl, of course, is our fire. So I have a bunch of wood on there. I'm just going to wait for it to burn down to coals, keep feeding it. The wood actually was donated to me from Dan's Diatribe. Really awesome bloke. I'm going to put his YouTube URL right there. There we are. The next thing I'm going to need is a big piece of wood. Now I got this timber also from Dan's Diatribe, and these timbers were donated, so they were no charge for that. So you're going to need a good piece of wood. You can use a log, anything you want. You're going to need a knife. This is a crooked knife. This is a really great tool for getting in there, and you're going to see how we're going to use this. You're also going to need a conventional knife, and I've got that right here. So I've got my two knives and my piece of wood and my fire. We're just going to wait around for some coals, and we're going to start our bowl. Now we got a little bit of a fire going here. We got some coals. I'm going to take my block of wood. Now it's really important that you have a flat top on the wood. If I was using a piece of domed wood, I would have to take my knife and carve a flat spot. Otherwise your coals are just going to fall right off. Now please be careful if you try this at home without an instructor present, because these are hot coals and of course you can get burnt. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to dig into my wood here while the fire's going. I'm going to grab some hot coals, make a bit of a selection, and then just basically take them and pour them right on the top. Just like that. Now if you have like a piece of nail in there, I'm going to remove that piece of nail. Just simply, well of course not obviously with my fingers. Just going to take that guy out of there. There we are. And that's my first step. So with our embers and coals on, we're going to just make sure that we're going to keep them nice and stacked up like this. Now what's going to happen is these embers are just basically going to eat the inside center of this out. It's a waiting game. I'm really fortunate today that we have a bit of a breeze going. As the breeze hits these embers, it's going to help them a little bit. If I decide to, I can kind of help it along by giving it a little bit of a blow. If you're lucky enough to have like a straw or something, you can bit very, very delicate blows through a straw, and that'll work as well. So we're just going to let this burn out a little bit. After a little while of the coals being on, you can see my little circle. So I'm going to put my hands around, give it a little breath. The coals start to get a little hotter. They sometimes will actually catch a little bit of fire. That's kind of cool when they actually catch fire. I do like it when they do that. As long as it's good and controlled. So what's happening in this process is the center of the bowl is starting to be eaten out and by the fire. So then later on, what we're going to do is we're going to take our crooked knife here and we'll have to start to carve it and remove all the carbon and all the other stuff that we created and all the ash, leaving us with a functional bowl. Make sure that the bowl ends up going down and not out. I've dumped my coals back into the fire and I'm left with these charred embers. So now I'm going to take my crooked knife and I'm actually just going to help it along a little. And I'm going to remove all these old coals and take the blade side of the knife and I'm going to start doing some carving. And then what we're going to do is you can see that starting to make it a little bit deeper now. And that's exactly the kind of look that we wanted. We haven't burnt through too many layers right now because this is a very, very thick piece of hardwood. But what it does is it sees that we're making a little bit of progress. You want to make sure that those coals get hot. If it catches fire like this, that is completely okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just make sure it doesn't go where else you don't want it to go. One of the other things that I will sometimes do is I'll actually take some water like this, and I'm going to dab the edges with water. That way that fire isn't going to get as out of control. And sometimes I like to wet the surface. It's optional. You certainly don't have to do that. But I just find it gives for a little bit more controlled burn, and it will go where I want it to go rather than where it decides to go. So I've had some time here to have a bunch of the coals carve this out. So now what I'm going to do is take my crooked knife, and I'm just going to start to try to remove as much of the material as I can. This is going to ensure that the bowl is coming along the way I want it to go, and not just randomly burning out, doing something it's not supposed to. I'm just going to carve it out. Now, you can do this with a straight knife, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. Especially when I get around the edges, I can start to carve it with the edge of my blade, like this, and just start to pull it all into shape. You can see I have some bare wood coming out down here. That's really, really great. And now what I'm going to do, when I've got most of this scraped out, you can actually see it's starting to be a little bowl shape. I'm going to go ahead here, load a bunch more coals onto it. Start blowing on it as much as I can. Again, if you have a reed, you could use a reed for that, or a straw, and let her go. So I've been out at this for a couple of hours now. It hasn't really taken any effort. Just basically throwing some coals in here, letting them burn out, scraping, and repeat. So the bowl is pretty much finished now, except for some finishing. So I'm going to go ahead, get rid of these, and the next thing we're going to do is give it a good carving. Now I got my center as carved out as I've wanted. I'm going to take my crooked knife, like I said, pull that, make sure there's nothing coming out that I left over. Now I'm going to take the straight knife that I talked to you earlier about and do the finishing touches, and that is when we're going to get it all, take the edges off, give it a nice round edge. There's nothing worse than a square bowl. Like I said, it'll end up kind of looking something like a Kleenex box if you don't finish it up. And yeah, once it's done, it's going to be ready for use. Now, I don't know if I would recommend using this as like a cereal bowl or something like that, but certainly it's really it's a nice do-it-yourself project. If you don't know how to do this, please seek out the advice of an instructor. There's many great instructors out throughout the world that can certainly help you make a primitive bowl. You are going to be dealing with fire. You are going to be dealing with coals. You can certainly get injured if you don't make this properly. So I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I'm the Wolfman. Please consider subscribing. Scene 2, take 1. Oh yeah.